3 people died that night. Princess Diana, Dodi Al-Fayed, and a man called Henri Paul, who was the driver. Dodi Al-Fayed hit the back of Henri Paul's seat with a weight of about 4 elephants.
Royal figures have long fascinated the public, symbolizing power and prestige while navigating political intrigue. Their ascents often represent hope, but the qualities that elevate them can lead to dramatic falls from grace. By examining the stories of figures like Princess Diana, King Edward VIII, and King Juan Carlos I, we uncover important lessons about power, ambition, and personal choices.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I think she would be sad.
Princess Diana. Princess Diana remains one of the most iconic figures in modern history. Her rise to global fame was extraordinary, but was her journey really a fairy tale? Or was she set up to fail from the beginning? When Diana married Prince Charles in 1981, the world saw a perfect love story unfold. But behind the scenes, was it ever really about love? Charles was known to be deeply attached to Camilla Parker Bowles, even before the marriage. Diana, on the other hand, was young, beautiful, and came from a noble family, ideal for royal image and lineage. And here's the truth. Diana may have been chosen more for what she represented than for who she was. Her purpose? To produce heirs. Charles's heart was with Camilla, and that emotional distance set the stage for Diana's struggles within the marriage.
Very much so.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage.
Diana quickly won the public's heart with her compassion and charity work, becoming the people's princess. But her personal life was a nightmare. Her marriage with Charles was unraveling, with him rekindling his relationship with Camilla. Diana was isolated, and despite her image as a glamorous royal, she privately battled bulimia and self-harm. When Diana died in 1997 in a car crash, it shook the world. The official story? Paparazzi chased her car, causing the crash. But was that really all there was to it? The conspiracy theories say otherwise. Some speculate that Diana's increasingly outspoken nature, her public image, and her connection with Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian billionaire, threatened the royal family's standing. While there's no concrete proof of foul play, the suspicions linger. Could it be that Diana had become a liability for the royal family, someone who could no longer be controlled? Her tragic death silenced her forever, but the questions remain. After her death, the royal family suddenly embraced Diana's memory, branding her the people's princess and honoring her legacy in public ways they never did while she was alive. But was this genuine, or was it a way for the royals to repair their damaged image? The same family that ostracized her in life suddenly saw value in her after she was gone. The truth is, Diana was always more than just a pawn, but did the royal family ever see her as anything else? The answer may lie in the way her legacy is remembered, honored more in death than in life. King Edward VIII.
She did love another man, and that man was Herman Rogers. And on his second wedding day, when he was married his second wife, she went up to the second wife, Lucy.
King Edward VIII's story is often framed as a romantic tale of a monarch giving up the throne for the woman he loved. But is that really the full story? His decision to abdicate the British throne in 1936 was unprecedented and shook the monarchy to its core.
But beneath the surface, were his motivations as pure as they seemed, or was there more at play? Edward's romance with Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, was the stuff of tabloid dreams and royal nightmares. Edward was deeply infatuated with Wallis, but was this really about love, or was he using her to escape the confines of royal life? Wallis was already married when they began their affair, and she was twice divorced by the time Edward wanted to make her his queen. The British establishment, including the Church of England and the government, couldn't accept a twice-divorced woman as queen. So, was Edward truly fighting for love, or was he rebelling against a system that never suited him? On December 11th, 1936, Edward became the first British monarch to voluntarily step down from the throne. The government made it clear that marrying Wallis would cause a constitutional crisis. Politically, Edward was in a tough spot. The abdication wasn't entirely his choice. It was clear he would face intense opposition if he remained king and insisted on the marriage. So, was he heroically sacrificing the throne for love, or was he cornered into giving up power? After his abdication, Edward was given the title Duke of Windsor, and he and Wallis were essentially exiled from Britain. They spent most of their lives in France, far away from the royal spotlight. But here's the controversial part. Edward's abdication wasn't just about his love life, his political views were troubling too.
Quite startling, even shocking documentary was aired in Britain a week ago. It was called Edward VIII, Britain's Traitor King. And it claims that the former king advised the Nazis to keep bombing England during World War II, and also passed information to Germany that helped it conquer France in 1940.
Edward had a known admiration for Nazi Germany, and during the early years of World War II, he and Wallace even met with Adolf Hitler. British officials were reportedly concerned about Edward's pro-German sympathies and feared that, had he remained on the throne, he might have been a liability during the war. So, was his abdication entirely about love? Or was the royal family also quietly relieved to see him go because of his dangerous political leanings? Edward and Wallace lived a life of luxury and exile, but by many accounts, it wasn't the fairy tale they might have envisioned. Edward became increasingly frustrated and bitter, feeling sidelined from royal life. Despite giving up the throne, he and Wallace were never fully embraced by the royal family, and Edward's relationship with his brother, King George VI, remained strained. Prince Andrew.
Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew's name have been linked now for years. This is a scandal that doesn't seem to go away for the Duke of York.
Once seen as Queen Elizabeth II's favorite son, Prince Andrew's downfall is a story of privilege, scandal, and disgrace. But did no one see it coming? In his prime, Andrew was a war hero and royal star, even earning the nickname Randy Andy for his wild social life. But was his lavish lifestyle and string of high-profile relationships always a sign of trouble? Andrew's close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted offender, led to one of the royal family's biggest scandals. When Virginia Giuffre accused him of her when she was 17, Andrew's infamous 2019 BBC interview made things worse. His bizarre defense, claiming he couldn't sweat, and lack of remorse painted a damning picture. Was Andrew simply naive? Or did he think his royal status would shield him? Following public outrage, Andrew was stripped of his royal duties, military titles, and patronages. But why did the royal family wait so long to act? Were they protecting him until public pressure forced their hand?
She says Jeffrey Epstein her in the early 2000s, and Prince Andrew her several times as a minor.
After settling Giuffre's civil lawsuit in 2022 without admitting wrongdoing, Andrew has faded from public life. His once celebrated status now serves as a reminder of royal privilege and entitlement. Did Andrew's fall come from poor choices, or was his downfall inevitable? His legacy, once built on royal glory, is now defined by scandal. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef.
I think the kingdom is in a uniquely powerful position with what is happening in Ukraine.
Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef was once the favored son of the Saudi royal family and the presumed heir to the throne. Known for his tough stance on terrorism and his close ties to Western intelligence, he seemed poised for greatness. But what happened to cause such a dramatic fall from grace? Mohammed bin Nayef, born in 1959, quickly rose through the ranks due to his reputation as a savvy security official. As the Minister of the Interior from 2012, he led efforts to combat terrorism and was credited with dismantling several al-Qaeda plots within Saudi Arabia. His cooperation with U.S. intelligence agencies earned him respect on the global stage. But was his rise truly based on merit, or was he merely riding on the coattails of Western interests in the region? Some argue that his close relationship with the U.S. was a double-edged sword, making him vulnerable in the complex world of Saudi politics. In June 2017, King Salman made a shocking move by removing his nephew, Mohammed bin Nayef, as crown prince, instead elevating his son, Mohammed bin Salman, often referred to as MBS. This sudden shift raised eyebrows. Was it a mere power grab, or was there more behind the scenes? Mohammed bin Nayef had been favored by the West, and his removal signaled a significant change in Saudi dynamics.
The world wondered, did MBS see his cousin as a threat to his own ambitions? Was the younger prince positioning himself to consolidate power by eliminating anyone who could challenge him?
After losing his crown prince status, Mohammed bin Nayef faced an abrupt and harsh reality. Reports suggest he was placed under house arrest and later imprisoned in 2020. His downfall was shrouded in secrecy, but allegations of corruption and treason have circulated.
MBS is a very dangerous man who is becoming more dangerous because of the power he's accumulating.
Did his fall stem from legitimate concerns about loyalty, or was it simply MBS eliminating rivals to ensure his grip on power? The lack of transparency surrounding Mohammed bin Nayef's arrest leaves many unanswered questions. Was he truly a victim of palace intrigue, or did his own ambitions make him a target? The story of Mohammed bin Nayef serves as a reminder of the shifting sands of power in the Middle East and the high stakes involved in the royal game. King Juan Carlos I.
We have complete respect for what's behind the decision of the royal household. This is the decision to distance themselves from the allegedly questionable and reprehensible behavior.
King Juan Carlos I of Spain is a figure who once embodied the nation's transition from dictatorship to democracy. But his reign ended in controversy, leading many to question whether he was a symbol of national pride or a tarnished legacy of royal excess. So, how did a king hailed as a hero become a figure of disgrace? Born in 1938, Juan Carlos was raised in exile during the Franco regime. He returned to Spain in the 1940s and was groomed by Franco to take the throne as his successor. However, when Juan Carlos ascended the throne in 1975, he surprised many by steering the country toward democracy, helping to dismantle Franco's authoritarian regime. Juan Carlos's decisive actions during the failed coup attempt on February 23, 1981, solidified his reputation as a champion of democracy. He appeared on national television, denouncing the coup and rallying support for the democratic government. His leadership during this crisis transformed him into a national hero. But did he play a more complicated role in the coup's planning than the public was led to believe? Critics speculate that he had ties with some military factions, raising questions about his true loyalties. Was he really the hero, or a king with deeper connections to the old regime? Fast forward to the 21st century, and the glory days seemed long gone. King Juan Carlos faced numerous scandals, including allegations of corruption, extravagant spending, and a controversial elephant hunting trip in Botswana during Spain's economic crisis. His reputation plummeted, and the public's discontent grew. In 2020, facing mounting legal scrutiny and calls for accountability, Juan Carlos made the shocking decision to abdicate the throne in favor of his son, Felipe VI. Was this a strategic retreat to protect the monarchy, or an admission of guilt for his actions? The abdication marked a profound shift in the royal family's standing, highlighting the deep fractures within the institution.